Okay, everybody. Okay, so Ramaji is going to talk to you a little bit about what rasa is. I know some of you have heard and know already, but there are many of you that we have faces we haven't seen before, and we certainly are beyond grateful and excited to be a part of Open Circle and to share this our rasa with you and explain it so that you leave here today not only having heard what we have to say about it, but having really experienced having had an existential experience of what rasa does. That's the most important thing of all. Okay.
Yeah, what we're here to do is not just talk. In fact, to be quite honest, if we didn't have to talk at all or just talk a couple of minutes, we'd be fine with that. Because the message is not the talking, and it's not us. It's the rasa. It's a spiritual transmission, and it's unique. The story, I'll tell the story just so you have the background, and if this was a series, I wouldn't repeat the story, but some of you have not heard it, and so one should have the background. So basically, my spiritual journey began when I was 16. I had a spontaneous Kundalini awakening. I had a legitimate ego death experience. My sense of separate self went into an ocean of light. And, and I had a desire to be a spiritual teacher. So in my youthful optimism, I assumed it would happen quickly. So that was when I was 16. But it wasn't until I met Ramesh Balsekar, who was the direct disciple of Nisargadatta Maharaj, in 1989, and then got his blessing, received his spiritual transmission, that in 1992 I actually did have a stable non-dual awakening in 1992. So at that point I was 42. So 16 to 42 is how long it took me in my spiritual search. So that's a long time. So, and then I found out though, and it's on that basis of what happened after my awakening, I found I went through a series of levels of, you could say, awakening until I came to what I consider the final conclusion, and I call that 1,000. And then so here's the book that describes that journey and describes those levels. And we talk about level of consciousness, and basically most of you would be at, and again, this is my map, so it's not the truth. It's just a way of talking about this. It's a new way of talking about it. But most people in a seeker level would be, say, 560s, 570s, 580. And then there's a jump up to the 600s. So stability and non-duality, which is coupled with non-doership or spontaneous action, begins at 640 all the way up to 1,000. And 1,000 is defined, it's classical self-realization, but it means the ego I thought is gone. So there's no remnant of a little me, but you're still here as the spacious, wide open presence, which was always your real identity. So I went to 1,000 in 2008, spring of 2008. That was the culmination of my spiritual quest. And I knew it was done, and then it's just about living. You just live from that point. There's no quest anymore, and there's not even any spirituality really, because it's done, it solved itself. But anyway, so 3 years after that, I was doing a spiritual healing with someone, just a conventional spiritual healing. And I don't know what just happened.
So I'm just going to, I think folks are looking, let's see, Hawaii P9, if you can go up to the top of your screen and say, yeah, stop share screen. I'll just say one thing, if folks just don't press share screen, and there's no other way, I wish we could lock it, but we can't, so just don't push that button.
It was a cute picture, though.
Yeah,
it was.
You're very cute,
yeah.
whoever you are.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And so I'm doing this conventional spiritual healing, working with somebody who has chronic pain. and this big ball of white light came down, like the size of a beach ball, sat on the top of their head and then went into their body. And they noticed it, and they are not the kind of person to notice such a thing. They're not clairvoyant or anything. I am, so I saw it, and so on. Anyway, afterwards, she said, "Wow, something's really happened." So I thought it was a conventional physical healing. But fast forward, and I began to realize there was an awakening of consciousness happening. People's consciousness was changing, was going up, and eventually, then the first person, after receiving the rasa, this light coming down, said, "Hey, I've had an awakening. This is what I've been looking for." And I said, "Really?" So for about the first year, I was very skeptical. And it was after about 10 people had awakened, I decided, oh, okay, maybe this is real after all. And because, to be quite honest, in theory, in fact, it does happen at least a couple times a month. One rasa, one 15-minute rasa, that's how long a one-on-one rasa takes when if a person works with us individually or together. It's just 15 minutes. The group rasa will be 20 minutes. Every now and then, at least every month, somebody pops, they go to 1,000 on their first rasa. So literally 15 minutes, but I'd sound like a snake oil salesman if I go, "Hey, yeah, pay your money in 15 minutes, you'll be enlightened." But in fact, it does happen. It's radical. It really is radical. But so I had to be convinced too. So if you're skeptical, I don't blame you. Ananda was very skeptical also, and I don't blame her, So then really from that point forward, we now have 300 people, over 300 people around the world who state from their own point of view and also from our standards as teachers that they are stably awakened in non-duality, if not at what we call 1,000. So the story doesn't end, and then there are also about 25 people who are trained to give rasa, so it's something that can be learned. Right. So what happened for me, though, okay, so I've been doing rasa since 2011. What happened for me in the fall of 2015 is I have a devotional relationship with Kali Ma, with the Divine Mother, Divine Feminine. And every now and then I'll receive a communication from her. I received this communication from her in late 2015 saying, "I'm going to send you somebody. I'm going to send you a woman. This woman is my daughter, and she is going to help you with your mission and take it to a new level." And I said, "Well, how will I know her?" And she said, "You will know her, and she's coming soon." So that was November of 2015. And then Ananda showed up to receive rasa in February of 2016. And she went to 1,000 on the first rasa, and she may have actually basically been there already, but on the first rasa, she went there. And then she knew that she was here to work with me, and I knew she could do it. It took me longer to realize that she was supposed to work with me than it took for her. But anyway, we both came to that same conclusion.
I see no bluffing.
And that was, that started in February of 2016. And then she trained to give rasa in July of 2016. So she's been giving rasa for a year. And we've really been working together almost since the first day that we met. But anyway, so she was, for me, Ananda was a fulfillment of a prophecy from Divine Mother, from the form of God that I am connected to. And she really has made a huge difference and will, I know, continue to make a huge difference in expanding rasa to the world in order to change even more lives than have already been changed for the better. So that's basically the background, that every now and then something happens. The divine, the higher power, the self, God, Buddha nature gives us something. And we're in a time historically where the whole planet, it appears the whole planet is, there's a wave of awakening on the planet. There's never been a time where you could just jump on YouTube and see a bunch of awakened teachers and listen to them, or, there's hundreds. I was over 400 non-duality teachers now. That's ridiculous. That's like McDonald's. So this is, it's wonderful, but I'm just saying there's no, back when I was a seeker, you'd order a book from India and wait 3 months. you know, and hope it helps, you know. I mean, it's the exact opposite now. Anyway, so do you want to say anything, Ananda?
Yeah, I think that it's important to talk. I want to talk to you guys a little bit further, a little bit about LOCs. I'm so sorry for the people that hear us, hear a lot of the same rap over and over, but it's for the new people. I want to explain it a little bit further, only because there's a confusion, and because we have one event here today and it's 2 hours. I'm a very simple person. I speak in very simple language. So I think that for those other simple people that are like me, this may make sense. Your level of consciousness is, the way we determine a level of consciousness is where your mind is at. Only a mind has a level of consciousness. Essence, truth, is always at 1,000. There is only light. Everything is light. You know, the first words in the Bible, let there be light. But so the way we determine where a person's level of consciousness is at is basically by tapping into their essence or having a conversation with them if you're just starting out, and seeing from how they describe their experience, their own existential experience, what is going on with them, where their own LOC is at. Now, are only Ramaji and I capable of reading an LOC? Absolutely not. So the point of buying the book 1000 and understanding it is to give each and every student or person the ability to actually know where they're at themselves. Not only where they're at, but where their teacher is at. You know, because a lot of teachers today are not at 1,000, because most people at 1,000 don't have anything to teach because there's nothing left to say. It's dissolved, you know. So what I'm trying to say is it's just, that's why he wrote the book, to help seekers understand. Okay, so if I'm developing, if I'm moving, if I'm progressing, how exactly does that work, and where am I at? And so I wanted that to be so clear to all of you, because we're going to be giving you Rasa later, and then you may have an experience later on today, and it may shift your LOC. And as Ramaji often, he uses the term moving to another country or city. We move to New York because, for example, your LOC may be in 580, and then all of a sudden you're in non-duality. But then you've moved to New York, and you're in New York, but you still don't really know the city. You still don't know where to go, where the right restaurants are, you know, where to go hang out, you know, where to drop your kids off at school. So you are getting involved, and so it takes a while to integrate into each new level. And sometimes you skip every level and you can just go, bam, done. And that's what we want to happen. We're not living in times anymore like, you know, this is the modern age. We've been conditioned to believe that awakening takes years, and we have to go and meditate, on some mountain in India forever, and then we're going to be more spiritually realized. Actually, that's not true. You know, you're always at the mountain. You're always here now, and you can awaken right away. And we have this incredible rasa that takes away the need for a teacher, because we're skipping a step. We're actually providing a technology that does it for us. The technology itself does it. It's not about the teacher. It's not about even a teaching. It's about only one thing. It's about waking up and getting as quickly as possible. And that's what Rasa does. And I'm just so excited to see new faces, you know. I wrote down a few other things that we could talk about.
Well, no, I want to comment.
Yeah, comment a little bit on that.
Yeah, I mean, the Rasa, you know, it's like you have a diamond in your safe. You know, you already have it, but you need the code to open the safe. So Rasa actually is a light, divine light, spiritual light. That's at 1000. It's an enlightened light. Comes down into your brain. Also goes into your heart, but it goes into your brain and illuminates your brain. You know, kind of turns your brain into light in a way, which the brain likes. And when it does that, it activates a code in your brain. So now your brain can access what you already have. And what's different about Rasa, and I've had years and years to come to understand this. This is why I can just say this now. It took me years to come to this understanding of how it works. What the Rasa does is it's totally direct. So it's not sloppy. It's not vague. It's not fuzzy. It's direct. It's targeted. Goes to the part of the brain where the lock is, where the code needs to be applied, and applies the activation code. So you're releasing the software that's already in your system, in your human biocomputer. You already have it. You have it. But, you need the code. Well, Rasa gives the code for you personally, your personal brain, and awakens that capacity of your brain to abide, to live in non-duality, not just to visit it, as Ananda is saying, visit it or, kind of get to know it, but actually live there. Your brain has to be in agreement with non-duality. Your brain has to be comfortable with non-duality. Our brains are actually 150,000 years old. They haven't changed very much. So back then, you could be dealing with a saber-toothed tiger or something, and the brain very happily is going to preserve the duality because it doesn't want you to get your body eaten by the tiger. So the brain needs to adjust, and the Rasa takes care of that adjustment. So there's very little in the way of having to, adjust to your enlightenment other than a necessary purification. In other words, if there's stuff you haven't been able to deal with in the past, after you awaken, you will have to deal with it because the doors to the subconscious have been opened up, and there's no way to avoid that. It's true for everyone. So that's kind of what I wanted to say about that.
Sorry, I'm just shifting screens a little bit over here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a lot of people. We got 5 screens.
Yeah, okay. So can we change now the subject?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
I'm done.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. I was thinking about, I wanted to also add, I think Ramaji and I can discuss a little bit about the notion of a separate self. I think a lot of people get really confused about what that actually means. And so we'll try and simplify it as much as possible, because I think a lot of people understand it as being, the sense of being a human being, and the sense of having ups and downs, ins and outs, not, that you're always going to be happy all the time, always at peace. Stuff's not going to come up in your life that, sometimes, maybe not the greatest experience. That somehow awakening means that you are going to be in a state of bliss for the rest of your life. And nothing could be further from the truth. Awakening is not about that at all. Awakening is about actually having a very human experience. And it's about the resistance that people usually have to the experience that they're having, that disappears. So you are in a state of allowing. You allow whatever arising you may have to arise. And they're no longer the little narcissistic, separate little person what's going on? Who's stopping the...
Okay, that's better. Yeah, we're fooling with... I moved the mic, and apparently that changed something. It's a new mic. Okay, good. Thank you. Back to full volume now. Okay.
Okay, who's stopping the... So I was saying before, I don't know if you heard me, but it really is about being in a state of allowing. Whatever happens, happens, because we understand that, in fact, we're not in control. The universe itself is controlling what is going on. And yet we always, and then people get very confused. Oh, well, if I'm not the doer, then I have no choice. Then my freedom, I have no choice then I might as well just sit back and do nothing for the rest of my life and meditate. But that's not the point either, because you always have a choice. You can resist, or you can become very involved in, the natural divine creation that you actually are, which happens to be limitless. And your limitlessness is in your divinity, as knowing that you actually are not a separate little thing, but you are so much a part of the whole. And that's what this awakening is all about, really. So yes, this little separate I dissolves, and that's the most important thing. But after that, there is a real deepening into compassion, treating people with human dignity and respect, only because you start to recognize that self is everything and everyone. And that's how it works. And that's why we do what we do, because is there any finer job? We work day in and day out, student after student, person after person, group after group, because it helps people feel that they want to give back too. They want to help. And we're in a world now that, it's filled with duality. It would be nice if there were more groups like ours, more people like us, people that want to give back, want to help others. And that's also why we teach Rasa to people. We want people to become teachers. No one else teaches how to give Rasa ever, besides Ramaji and I. That we don't do. But what we do is we teach people how to give the Rasa so that they too can be Rasa givers. And then they can have their own communities and do that. And so that's how we are learning to spread this, through creating more teachers. And anyone can do it, because it's not about Ramaji and I. It really isn't. It's not our power. We don't have any power. The only power we have is this power of the self. So it's available to anybody. We can teach you to give Rasa, and you're no different to us.
After you get to 1,000.
After you get to 1,000.
Been there for 6 months and we approve, then, and you want to, then we can teach how to give Rasa. That's because it's a source that, any person can access once they're at that level of consciousness and they've been trained on how to access it. I wanted to, just sort of add with regards to, well, what is this enlightenment about? As Ananda was saying, it's really actually incredibly simple. Prior to my awakening, especially prior to going to 1,000, I had all these ideas, and most people do, from my reading and from teachers. It really boils down to this. I'm going to say it right now. This experience that you're having right now, whatever it is, okay, that's it. Just remove the notion, the voice, the feeling that this isn't it, that there's something wrong with this, that it's not perfect, that it should be another way, that there's something bigger or better or brighter or more important or more valuable than this moment. This is it. So whether it's positive or negative or neutral, this is it. So the joke is that you already have it, but you're resisting it. You don't see the value of it, so you don't experience the value of it. Even when people go to 1,000, they're still going, well, this isn't it. This couldn't be it, because the angels aren't singing, and the light isn't bright, and I'm not in constant bliss, and they have all these ideas. But what happens, and what we both found happens, and we got to it independently through our own process. And we were just talking about it the other day, how we have discovered that this ordinary moment, when you totally accept it as it is, that this is the natural state, it begins to open itself up in the most magnificent way. And then you discover that which you were looking for, which is an endless opening of love and bliss and peace and kindness and compassion and contentment and fulfillment, everything you look for. But God is hiding in the leaves. God is hiding in the grass. God is hiding in the ordinary things, and in the pencil, in the coffee cup. That's God. And when we dismiss it and say that's not it, which is what the ego or what the mind does, it says this could not possibly it. I bought this, coffee cup for 99 cents at, at some store. No, you see, that's the mind. The mind is taking God and putting God out on the lawn for a garbage sale. This is it. But it's in the acceptance, the receiving, the allowing, like Ananda was saying, that is the secret. That is the secret. But through the rasa, that part of you, that part that was imposed on you, this separate little me that is trying to control everything, that thinks it's the center of the universe, at least its own universe. Okay, that does get dissolved over time as you get rasa. It will get dissolved. And then the resistance will go because there is no more resistor. There's nothing there to do any resisting. And then you see things as they are. And then eventually you embrace them as they are. And then they really begin to reveal all their beauty and wonder. It's a little bit like being an innocent little child. That's one of the metaphors I like to use. Really like being a little child. You really don't know what's going on. You really don't know anything. But you're being taken care of. The higher power takes care of you and takes care of everything.
It may be a good idea to call on a few of our students, well, not students, our friends. You know what, I use the word student because I honestly don't know what other word to use. So I'm just going to use that word student. Just so that they can maybe talk briefly, maybe a few seconds on their experience of Rasa for those people who haven't had it before and how it's helped them in their lives. And because a lot of them have worked with Ramaji long before I have been around, and some of them have worked with me in the time I have been around. So maybe we'll just ask 2 or 3, because I think that may give another, perspective other than ours for everybody that has never received Rasa before. And if nobody minds, I'm actually going to start with Court because Court's pretty used to us. He's been around a super long time.
Yeah, Court, if you want. Go ahead and, yeah.
Thanks, I found the button. So, hello. Rasa is, it's hard to talk about because it's a silent teaching. It doesn't require the words, the knowledge. All those things are nice along the way, but honestly, you got to drop it all when you reach 1,000 or the natural state or self-realization, whatever you want to say. So this is the opportunity to just sit back. You do absolutely nothing. You've done all the hard work. You tried everything. And now's the time you can get the rewards. Just wake up right here, right now. There's no reason not to. Really, you're not trying to bring it down. You're not trying to do anything. Just sit down, relax, enjoy your time. I was a hard nut to crack. Took me 14 months. And at the time I thought, oh, wow, that's great. Because I heard the story about Nisargadatta getting enlightened after 2 years. I'm like, oh, wow, beat him. But folks, look, I was tough. People are waking up so fast after 1 session, 2 sessions, but it doesn't really matter. After you wake up, you're like, oh, the whole concept of time, I can't believe I even cared,
Exactly. Yeah. Thank you, Court. That's beautiful.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Court.
Can I ask Gary Falk to weigh in?
Yeah, say something, Gary.
Only
yeah,
because Gary was. Yeah.
Please do. Please ask me. What can I say?
Well, you were a seeker a long time. What, 50
Tell them a bit
years?
about your history.
Listen, 50 years. 50 years. I'm marking my 50th, or I marked my 50th anniversary as a seeker last year, and I'll tell you what it was about for me in terms of encountering Ramaji and then subsequently Ananda. I got real clear at one point this year that 50 years of seeking was just like being on a hamster wheel, and that I had an insight that, 50 years doesn't mean anything. You could do the same thing for another 50 years and still be spinning around, because seeking just begets more seeking, looking for something down the road. Now, the one good part of that seeking experience was that I happened to run into Ramaji's book, 1000, and when I picked it up and I looked through it, and I read his little experience with Kali Ma at the Ramakrishna Vivekananda Center in Hollywood, something clicked, because I had my own experience way back when of the devotional. I had gone from the devotional mode into more of a non-dual mode when I discovered Nisargadatta in 1982. I am that. So anyway, all this stuff, seeking, doing, chasing gurus, chasing workshops, the next workshop, the next book, the next, I bought so many books on Amazon. I'm a charter member. But I have to say, absolutely, without doubt, sine qua non, the Rasa experience was the thing the only thing that got me out of it, ended seeking, you know, Papaji says, call off the search. Well, yeah, I tried calling off the search 1,000 times, but the search still went on. But the Rasa ended the search. Went through a different a process, which I got to go into, but I want to keep it short. The Rasa was the difference between being the seeker for 50 years, 100 years, 1,000 years, 1,000 lifetimes, and being put over, pushed over, or whatever happened. Find myself, oh, well, I'm not, you know, we're not in Kansas anymore. Now, all of a sudden, I'm on the other side. It was the Rasa. And I have to say, to be perfectly frank, I'm a big fan of Ananda Devi because Ananda Devi stepped in when I was kind of stuck. Ramaji and I we're duking it out a little bit.
We've been at it for, I don't know, 6 months or something. And then.
Yeah, and I got stuck.
Why don't you have a round with Ananda, and she took you over the edge. So I softened you up, but she delivered the final blow.
The way I look at it is Ramaji had me in the ring and he was pummeling me with a lot of body blows, but then, and I was like on the ropes, but then Ananda had to step in and deliver the knockout punch. That was the knockout punch. Made all the difference in the world.
And you were down for the count.
You were down.
Down and out. Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah. So there's a lot of evidence, and actually, there's people on this call where when the two of us together combined our forces and gave Raza together, we were actually able to take them over the edge into their awakening. So there is something that goes on, you know, as Divine Mother had predicted, as Kali Ma had predicted, that, you know, Ananda was bringing something very special. And it is true, when we combine our forces, it's something at a higher level.
But it's not us, Gary.
But it isn't us.
It's not us. It's whatever is going on. It's not really about anything that I'm all powerful or anything. I'm just a normal mother, actually. But again, everyone's capable of doing this. But what Ramaji and I do together, that somehow, maybe I call it vibrational. A vibration, a person who's at 1,000, I think that perhaps their vibration is, you know, we're all used to that word. It seems to be thrown around a lot lately, but whatever. Maybe it's that higher vibration that allows for this rasa to work. I don't really know.
There's a synergy, a spiritual synergy. It was there from day one. From the very minute that we met, there was a spiritual synergy. And it's just been fulfilling itself ever since.
Whatever it was, all I know is that it worked. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
Yeah, you know, and thanks, Gary.
Thank you, Gary G.
Yeah,
Thanks.
and we can say, you know, I can, you know, make a description of how it works, but the truth is we don't know how it works. It's basically a divine blessing. And as long as it's around, we're really recommending that people take advantage of it. And, you know, as far as being really realistic, you know, for what I say to most people, what we say to most people is allow a year if necessary, basically a year. Most people, you know, that might mean 1 or 2 rasas a month, but realistically, basically allow a year and probably you will go into non-duality. The other thing is we don't, you know, you can study with other teachers. You can be vegetarian, not vegetarian. We don't care. All we're asking is if you find today that rasa is helpful to you, then you can keep getting rasa in the group setting, keep getting rasa from us individually or together. There's different options for doing that. But if you found that it's like if you need vitamin D, you know, and you've discovered vitamin D is really good for you, you just keep taking vitamin D. So this is vitamin E or vitamin enlightenment. So now you want to keep taking vitamin E. You can still go do everything else you do, you know, and just include this as a spiritual booster or a spiritual vitamin. But in a lot of cases, it will lead to the awakening. And like Court was saying, you're here. The fact that you're here means you did all the work. You did all the hard work. Now you just relax and receive. You know, it's really all about receiving because the rasa has it in it.
Yeah, it's about giving this a permission slip. And, you know, again, it's as Court said, you know, here we are. It not only does the seeking dissolve, but, you know, so does the seeker. So that little I who's always looking to, somehow get to, attain a different state or be in any other place rather than where they happen to be right now, that notion disappears. And, if there's no one to, if there's no one to get enlightened, then what is enlightenment really, other than just the natural state we happen to be in right now? And it's actually very obvious. And the only reason why this teaching becomes what seems to be so very complicated is because of the way it has been written about and described back in the day, in the olden days. Because, I just think that maybe because in those days, the only people that really paid attention to their level of consciousness were, people living in India, maybe, who could, we were in the West, we're leading these busy lives.
Monks and nuns.
We don't really have that much time to contemplate and then write books about it from our own perspective. It's not that common. However, the notion of not being awakened and not being your natural self, it's bizarre. It's bull. How can you not be that? So it's just your thoughts about not being in the state that you should be in that is going to dissolve. It's that need for peace, whatever that means. But the peace is in knowing that it's okay when there is no peace. Thanks, Court. You actually said that to me once. Court's pretty brilliant.
So it's not about perfect content. It's not about having blissful content.
No.
Most people actually think, the states come and go. This is the thing. You can have a blissful state for a while. All the states are going to come and go. But what you are is the awareness. You're the space in which the states will come and go, the positive, negative, and neutral states. So the peace is in being the awareness itself, being like a room. The space in a room can allow all kinds of people in and out, positive, negative, and neutral people coming in and leaving, back and forth, in and out. The space is not affected. The space makes all of that possible. So that is the natural state, the natural allowing, accepting, embracing, and approving of everything that shows up. Nothing is going to last. Nothing is going to last. It's all going to move on. It's all going to change. No need to resist it. No need to fight it. Be that space of allowing that embraces it all. Then you will be in the natural state. You will be the natural state. You will be the Tao. You will be one with the river. You will be the river. But yet you will have this experience as a human being that kind of like you're swimming in the river or surfing the river, but you are the river at the same time. And that's because the resistance and the resistor, the seeker, the seeker is seeking. Where is he going to go seek at, or she? Where other than here, right? So if here was completely satisfying, then there would be no seeking. But the seeking is needed in order to ultimately discover this, which is discover that this here and now is it. It's a total paradox. But we both went through many years of intense seeking, of doing exactly what the people, what you guys are doing.
You've got no idea.
We trust. We were hardcore.
Yeah.
And we know what it's like, and we know. I mean, that was our path too. So it is set up to be person to person, that we need human beings for so many things. And basically we need another human being in order to help us wake up. The difference here is that we have a spiritual transmission that's new and radical and revolutionary and has this ability to work extremely rapidly. And as somebody was pointing out, as Gary was pointing out, it probably has to do with my devotional relationship to Divine Mother. Because, if anybody can awaken you quickly, it's going to be God, right? Especially that aspect of God, which is traditionally, mythologically related to rapid and sudden awakening, a kind of fierce, merciless love that will awaken you, even if you said you wanted it and all of a sudden you changed your mind, but too late. This love is going to wake you up because you asked for it. Mommy's going to wake you up. You've been sleeping. She's going to wake you up. She's the one that puts you to sleep, so she's the one that can wake you up. So from a devotional perspective, I don't see time and space. I see that Divine Mother can do this instantly and automatically. So in that sense, I'm not even a non-duality teacher. In that sense, what we both are agents of change representing the unlimited power of the divine to achieve what it can do, which is if it's decided to wake somebody up, you better believe you're going to wake up.
Yeah, heaven forbid. We're not teachers. In fact, if anything, we just are bridges to your own inner guru.
We're activists.
You know, we activate that within you guys, and then after that, honestly, we're not needed at all. We don't want to call ourselves gurus. We don't believe in the guru disciple whole thing. It's absolute bullshit. So our job is really just for you, to give you the rasa so that you guys awaken and you can know that you are already that, have always been that, and will always be that. And then, then the seeking disease, that we call it the seeking disease, ends. And I hope you have a lot of hobbies. Because you've spent so much time seeking, you're going to need them. What else should we talk about?
I don't know. We're running out of material.
What else do you guys want to talk about? How about you? Any questions? Anything you want to ask us?
Yeah, maybe you could use that raise hand function, because we're getting tired of listening to ourselves.
Yeah.
Yeah, before I just, Pierre Paulo had a question earlier. I just want to check in with him, and then I'll call on the next person who raised their hand.
Okay, cool.
Cool.
It's more that I want to share my experience.
Yes.
Okay, great, Pierre Paulo. Thank you.
No, I mean, it's, I recently moved into non-duality, Ramaji, as you know. And I actually have struggled for a while in what this non-doership meant. But, and I want to share what it means to me. Maybe it can help people understand.
Yeah.
It's kind of, this non-doership, it's kind of feel pulled. I feel pulled around. I'm not choosing what to do. I feel my body is moving by itself and doing whatever needs to be done. And if I start to resist it, it's really not worth it. And the funny thing is that I might start to do things that I've never done before. It can also be in a way controversial in a way, but it's not worth resisting it, because this will add much more turmoil to me. So this is how I would describe this non-doership. It's being pulled around, and you can do much about it because it's easier in a way.
Is it a good experience? Is it a good experience? Would you say it's a good thing?
Is that a good experience, Pierre?
Yeah, no, I mean, it's you start to feel free, no? Yeah, this is the tricky point. You are free because you're not choosing, because you are free to be, basically, It's real freedom is being who you are, and that's it. And it's easy in a way, but it is very difficult to get this message across.
Very.
And I've been trying to tell people, and they say, "What do you say? But this is the way it is." I mean, and I know why it's not easy to explain this. I mean, and I think this is the kind of it's an experience mostly. It
has to be, Pierre. It has to be an existential experience.
Yeah.
And the thing is, the reason it's so difficult to tell people is because of our conditioning. We've just been conditioned that everything is somehow we have to become everything. We have to wake up and we got to study and become this and become that. So the notion of just being who you are and being yourself seems bizarre. How can it be as simple as that?
Yeah.
That's just because we've been conditioned that way. So again, this is very much a destructive process in that we are literally unlearning everything that we've already learned.
Another thing is I really like very much the analogy you made with the new city, because that's exactly what it feels like.
Yes, that's Ramaji is brilliant.
It feels like it's a kind of at the beginning. It's like a little bit scary because everything is new. Everything is the same, but to you is new, so you don't know what is going on anymore.
Yeah,
you don't know. You don't know.
Yeah. So sometimes I find to myself to say, "Wow, this is happening." Yeah. I say, "Why is this happening?" I mean, and I say, "I don't know." So you get curious about it. This is the way I see it. This curiosity is kind of scary because I mean, oh wow, this is happening now. I don't know why.
A real awakening involves a stable awakening in non-duality involves this non-doership, this spontaneous living, and it is radical. I know when it happened to me in 1992, I was simply in a state of shock. I could not believe it. You know, you're just so used to, okay, I'll raise my hand and do this and pick up the coffee cup and I'm doing this and it's my willpower and all of this. When the little me goes, or a big chunk of it goes, then guess what? You discover the reality that the universe is doing everything. The universe is doing everything. But I wanted to comment on what you're talking about being versus doing, and just to kind of like to have like a takeaway remark. When you are living in the fullness of being, the doing takes care of itself. So we focus on doing, but that's only the surface aspect of ourselves. The depth, you know, the ocean of ourselves is pure being. And when we abide in that being, then you know what? We're the ocean. The waves take care of themselves. And the waves are the doing that, you know, so the doing, it's not that the doing isn't happening. It's just that the being is now dominating your experience, and the doing this automatically happens.
It's like I feel pulled. It's moving by itself. I cannot do much about it.
Yeah.
This is what I feel. And I also notice a movement from mind to body. So the body is suddenly becomes more important, and it's taking on itself by itself much more than in the past. I don't know.
Yeah, well, you're not operating from thoughts anymore.
Yeah.
And therefore, what's left? The body, the senses. In fact, I want to refer people to the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 5, verses 8 and 9, my favorite scriptural passage. Krishna describes this literally exactly what you're talking about. Thousands of years old, and it could be today's newspaper headline. He describes exactly what you're talking about. Exactly. And he even says it's really that you live in the senses, and the senses interact with the sense objects. And he literally says, you will say, oh my God, I'm not the doer. I'm not doing anything at all. He says it. It's right there in the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 5, verses 8 and 9. It's totally now, totally current. I mean, this is real. It's not about experiences. I know a lot of people have tons of mystical experiences. They still haven't awakened. This is about a fundamental change in how you live. And in fact, nobody is the doer. All 7 billion plus people of us, none of us is actually the doer. The difference with the enlightened or awakened person is they see things the way they are. They realize that the universe is quite literally doing everything, including moving our body here and there, like you're saying. The universe is pulling the body, moving the body.
Yeah.
You know.
And the last things, because I want to share this because I think it's good news in a way, no?
It's great news. Thank
frees
you.
you up to be happy and be yourself. Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah, and people notice it. This is what I realized. People, they actually notice it. So a colleague of mine said, I see you energetic.
Right.
That's your vibration, your heightened vibration.
Just see it. I mean, and several people have been telling me this. And it's amazing how people capture it. You know, I was there, there 2 months ago, I was there the same. I'm behaving more or less the same. No, it's not, can you see what I mean? It's not a radical change that I'm doing crazy stuff. It's more or less the same. But people perceive it.
They notice that there's something different about you. Yeah.
Yeah, it's more internal, no? Because you still keep doing whatever you are doing, you know?
Yeah, you might go to the same job and you drive on the
same job, the same friends, everything is the same.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, thank you, Pierre, so much for sharing with us. Now, is there anybody who's never met us
before? Thank you, Pierre, Paula.
Anyone that has never met us before that wants to ask us any questions about this process? New students from the open circle, it would be nice to hear from you.
Yeah, go ahead and raise your hand.
Yeah.
We really, truly kind of have said everything we think is important to say. We may think of something else, but in the meantime, we kind of depend on you. Wait a minute. I want to say something to Romy. Okay, Romy, you really need to send us an email.
Yes.
About that. That's not something we can go into here.
No.
But please send an email and we will do our best for you on that. Okay? We do understand what you're talking about.
Yes.
We just can't do it here.
Not here.
This is not a post 1000 group. We do have a post 1000 group that people can join. So just contact us and we'll be there for you. Okay. Thanks.
Anybody in?
Yeah, I think somebody.
James, I know James had a question. I'll go ahead and unmute you, James. Go ahead.
Thanks, Kate. Go ahead, James.
Where's James?
I don't know. We can find him, but he can still talk.
Yeah, you can talk, James.
So James, you're unmuted. We can't hear you. It's hard to scroll through everyone.
Okay, so while we're trying to figure out if James can be heard or not, is there anybody else? William, can you mute yourself, please?
Yeah, hi, William Bell.
Hey, William, can you mute?
Yeah, you're...
And I see James. James,
Thanks,
just
William.
talk. Talk, James.
Hi, can you hear me now?
There you go.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. I wanted to ask you, there's some mention in your material about the heart on the right, and I know this is something that Ramana talked about a little bit and Adida talked a lot about. I was just wondering if you could say something about that.
Well, did you actually read the section in the 1000 book about it? No, okay. Well, basically what happened as part of my process at the end is the Kundalini went all the way. So somebody's not muted.
Can everyone mute, please?
Make sure you're muted. Bob K needs to be muted. Kunshan. Okay, please mute yourself. Okay, that's better. We're not hearing that.
Thank you.
Now. So what happened in my process is that the Kundalini went up, opened the crown chakra, but then very spontaneously, a passageway from the crown chakra down to the heart on the right was opened up. It was a very, very unmistakable process. And of course, it's what Ramana Maharshi talked about. So there's a lot of people that have an experience of the crown chakra in relationship to enlightenment, but for whatever reason, the heart on the right is not revealed. But what I believe is Ramana Maharshi came to give a complete teaching and expose some esoteric secrets that are essential for the spiritual understanding on the planet. The heart on the right is fundamental to that. So the heart on the right is really, it's the source actually of the I thought. So to really attain self-realization and eliminate the I thought, I mean, I have many students, we have many students that are actually in touch with the heart, and they actually experience the heart on the right as part of the Rasa awakening. And they may even be aware of how the I thought leaves from the heart on the right to go up to the brain. So they discover all of this, which is all in accordance with Ramana Maharshi's teaching. So did you have a specific question about it? I mean, there's no question about the reality of it.
No, I was just curious about your experience of it and how it fit into your general understanding.
Oh, well, I'd really encourage you to read the book. I spent a lot of time talking about all of these experiences I had of the heart on the right. But it is exactly at the point, there's a marker, a physical marker on the right chest, a little bit above the nipple, a little bit in from the center line. It's exactly where Ramana Maharshi pointed to it. And that's exactly where it is. And that's where everybody else feels it too. We don't recommend that you meditate on it or contemplate or concentrate on it. But what will happen for some people, as their sadhana progresses, they become aware of the heart on the right, and there's a natural opening. There could even be some pain there as it actually literally opens up. So basically, opening the heart on the right, which may or may not be, it may not be a conscious experience, but it's essential to being at 1000 and having stable self-realization.
But James, having said that, you can awaken and not have that experience right away.
Yeah, you may not have
it. It can happen a few years after awakening, having a real self-realization awakening, and then the dropping into the heart on the right, And yes, it can be pain associated with it. And in my experience, I went to the hospital because I thought I was having cardiac arrest twice. So I was not had not read about it. I didn't know what was going on, and the sense of the love blowing up was enormous, gigantic, like a blow, So, but that was part of my personal experience. And the reason we don't really talk about personal experiences is because it doesn't really matter what that experience was. That was my experience then. And then there were other experiences. It really is only about what's going on
It's
here
individual.
now.
It's an individual path.
Everyone's got a unique process. Everyone's process will differ. It won't be the same for him, for me, for you. It's different. But ultimately, being here now and awakening is available all the time. The natural state's always the natural state. Our experiences differ, but what we are cannot change. It's always that.
Yeah, whatever the path, it's the same destination, which is where you're at right now.
Yeah.
Only you don't see it.
Exactly.
So it's really, we've dealt with hundreds and hundreds of seekers, and everybody's path is different. There is no one way. But when you arrive at this, when you arrive at 1000 and the natural state or sahaja, it's totally obvious to you. You don't need anybody to tell you then. There can be some initial confusion, but basically, once you're clear about your own state, then you don't need gurus, you don't need teachings. Everything's completely obvious to you. And I went through all these other levels and stages, and I can tell you things were not obvious to me at that time, no matter how, special the state I was in. It was only after the ego I thought was gone, you're at 1000, then you are your natural self, and then there's nothing to think about, nothing to talk about. We're doing this simply because it's happening. Tomorrow, we don't need to do this. This is simply what's arising. It's our destiny, our karma to do this. That's what we're doing. But I don't have an investment in it. Tomorrow maybe I'll decide I just want to go fishing all the time. Quite honestly, we don't have we've got to do this and save all these people. That's not happening. It is just simply what's happening. We're just living in the moment, and we don't know what's going to happen next. Just like we don't know what our next thought will be. You don't know what your next thought will be. Quite literally, we're just living in the moment. We really don't know what's going to happen next. I've got we've got people on our appointment schedules. Probably we would do those people, then we say, forget it. We'll just go travel the world, So, this is really truly fresh in the moment now. And there's no concepts associated with it. So we can talk about heart on the right. That's great. Yeah, we can talk about it. But it's a concept ultimately.
Everything, even LOCs is a concept.
Living in the moment, there's no
Spirituality is a
concepts.
concept.
All of it's a concept.
It's just words. It's actually, that's what you come to. It really is the final full stop. That's it.
Yeah.
It's done.
Being is being, and then even
you just are. You're being yourself.
Spirituality is gone. There's no need for spirituality. Spirituality was a crutch. It was a medicine for, say, materiality. But when the medicine has worked, you don't have the disease anymore. Like you had the flu a year ago. You don't go around talking about the flu all the time. It's over. It's in the past. Likewise, the search and the need for enlightenment or awakening or spirituality, they go too. It's just historically there's been this association of enlightenment and awakening with people who have traditionally spiritual occupations, monks, nuns, and so on. But now the wave of awakening has moved to the West. We're busy people. We don't have a lot of time. So something like Rasa has appeared, and it literally can take just 15 minutes. You could do it on your lunch break, in theory, quite honestly. And that's because we're in the West and we need something like this. So it appeared. Yeah. So thank you. Great question, James.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Thanks, James.
Another question. Like I said, we're kind of run out of material.
Burkhan, let me unmute you. Oh, you're unmuted. Go ahead.
Yeah. Hey guys, this is my first time. So I had a question based on what I've been hearing from you. So I've been,
Please.
I've been following Non-Duality, and I've read a ton of Ramana Maharshi and Nisargadatta Maharaj, and they talk about this thing called Atma Vichara, where you sort of just have to focus on the I am, or keep your attention in the I am, and sort of stay in the content-free awareness as long as you can, whenever you can, and just keep going back to it, especially when you get sort of muddled up in thoughts, and get on that thought train, and just keep coming back to that state of I am. And so this idea of just getting a rasa and a transmission and being done with it seems a little too good to be true, because I've been, and part of it is obviously just because of my investment in this whole being in the I am and Atma Vichara, and sort of this idea of it taking many years, like even Nisargadatta had to spend 3 years sitting in the I am for many hours a day. And so just getting it in like a 10-minute time, it seems like a little bit skeptical. So I guess my question is, do you recommend any practices to go with this, or is it just you sort of just go back to your regular day-to-day and take the transmission and that's about it?
Well, we recommend you continue doing whatever's working for you. And as far as, skepticism, understand that the rasa doesn't work for everybody. It works for anybody who's available, ready and available. So in most cases, people have spent years and years doing Atma Vichara, self-inquiry, who am I, doing Vipassana. I did 7 years of hardcore Vipassana, 10-day retreats, all of that. Ananda did her share of very serious sadhana. Most people here have done some serious sadhana, and that's what Court was referring to. You've done the preparation, you see. The way the spiritual process is set up is that you, as the seeker, do everything you can. But everything you can is not enough. But it's enough to get you to the place where, you have the proverbial empty cup. Okay?
Right.
You have to have the cup prepared. You know what? I could give you a whole bunch of, pour water into your hands. It just goes through your hands. If you have a cup ready, we can fill your cup with water. So you're preparing this wonderful empty cup. And by the way, since you're asking this kind of a question, let me tell you, I had one young lady go to 1,000 on one group rasa. And I thought, now, why the heck does this young college girl go to 1,000 in one rasa? Well, guess what? I don't know how you or other people think about past lives, but I find it a useful thing to work with. So I went into her past lives because I can do that. And guess what? She used to be an incredible saint in a previous life, very recent previous life. She fed many thousands of people, a whole life of sacrifice, not thinking about herself. She was a saint, a kind of a saint that made me cry. And every time I think about it, I start to cry. So why did she go to 1,000? Tons of preparation, lifetimes of preparation. So you see, we look at somebody now and we go, I mean, she's just a college student. How did she awaken so quickly? Well, you're quite right. There has been preparation. And the rasa, see, people are called to this. We believe, we experience. They're literally called to this because they're ready. They're not called to it because they're not ready. They're called to it because they are ready, because they intuitively feel. And for some, it's actually a relationship to Divine Mother or Kali Ma. So it's got its own frequency. It's got it's sending out a message around the world, and people are being called to get it, people who are ready to finish. So if you're not actually ready to finish, the rasa won't finish you for you. If you're really ready, then, and all your work that you've done to prepare to be truly ready, then yes. But you see, there's a lot more going on than us saying we have magic. We're really saying you've got to be ready for the magic. It's like that little extra something, like you're on the edge of the cliff and then, somebody says, hey, look at that. And then they push you off.
I'm ready for that extra push.
Right at the edge, but let's say you're 10 feet away or 100 feet away from the edge. It would take a lot of effort.
Where is Fergon? I can't see him.
Oh, he was right here, and then it got moved.
Yeah, I wanted to add to that, Fergon, wherever you are. And I wanted to say something about what you do, because the practice that you're practicing, the I am, I call it knowingness of beingness, staying in that I exist state.
Yes.
It's tremendously important.
Yeah, we see,
is a tremendous practice, probably the finest practice a person,
I did that too.
A person can
really
do.
Good.
And, and that alongside the rasa is probably one of the most all I'll say to most students is, they'll come up and we'll have a one-on-one and all this conversation. And then I just, I'll take them directly into presence. Just stay in that sense of beingness. And what the rasa does really, it's not magic in that it's creating another state. It's magical in that it's dissolving the false. The false are the notions and thoughts and ideas and concepts we believe that are blocking what is true. What's true is always here now. You already are awake. Really,
it's like getting a shower. It's like you got dirty.
So there's nothing.
And you get into the shower comes down and cleans you up. cleans you off, and there you are. As you were, the dirt was covering you. The shower comes down, literally like getting under the shower, cleans the dirt away, and then there you are, naked and in all your glory as your real self.
Yeah, I mean, please don't for a second believe that this is some kind of a magic changing your state. No, it's removing the blockages to your natural state, which is always now. You're always in your natural state. You just don't believe it.
The false can be removed, the real cannot. The real is always going to
you have a sense of a separate little I that cannot possibly be awake right now, and that is what you're struggling with. It doesn't really exist. It never did, and it never will.
Right,
so
right.
That's what we help you understand.
Yeah. That's sort of what inspired my question, because I'm kind of there where I've done the Atma Vichara, but I feel like there's something that still needs to melt down a little bit.
Exactly. It's that niggly last little bit that you and then you have these like moments of aha. I'm there, and then, it's back. And that's common too. This is a process that can go, but it can just truly, you can awaken immediately.
For many people, there comes towards the end of the search, end of seeking. There actually comes a realization that you can't do this. There's a certain helplessness that arises, but that's a very positive experience. That's the final disabling of this illusion that I can awaken me, and do this whole thing myself, like taking a course in college and getting an A. No, it's not like that. This is a different thing. This is like going from caterpillar to butterfly, So
and I'm finding more and more that I can't, as a person, I'm not
going to do it.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you will notice you continue doing it, and that's okay too. It's just you're recognizing the limit, the fictitious character. James Bond is in a movie and does all these things, but James Bond is fictitious. So when he's out of the movie, what can he do? We see a poster board character in front of a movie theater. That's James Bond. He can't do anything in the real world. The fictitious character is not actually doing anything. That's one of the reasons for emphasizing the non-doership. It's not that you're not the doer, it's that there is no doer other than the universe or God. So you see, it's essentially arrogance to say, I'm going to be a little God and make all these things happen. And when it comes to spiritual seeking, we still continue that arrogance of, I'm going to make this happen. That generally has to fall apart. You then arrive at true humility, true powerlessness, and hitting rock bottom, where you go, not my will, but thy will. And in fact, there's only one will, which is thy will.
Exactly.
So it's that simple. If you actually get that, you're done, or you're next to done. And then all you need is something like Rasa, or perhaps the presence of a teacher or whatever. But, it's getting to that point where you're almost done. Then the Rasa can help take you over the edge. So we totally support all the spiritual practices, but just notice, we want it to be something where you are getting something now. We don't want you to be very busy forcing yourself to meditate, hoping you get something in the future. This is all about living now, enjoying now, being now, appreciating now. And meditation's a beautiful thing,
all of those practices are still going to stay, and everything's going to be the same. And this is just going to push us a little bit over the edge.
That's the idea. Yeah.
You still do whatever you want to do. I mean, whatever comes up is what you do. Whatever your practice is, whoever your teachers are. That doesn't change unless it changes.
You can't help but be yourself.
You're just going to be yourself and do
simply
what you do.
You've just noticed, no matter what you do, that's the only thing you could have done at that moment. I mean, there's so much that's obvious about all this. If you just look at any moment, could I have done anything else in that moment than what I did? The answer is no. So when you see that, then to what extent does this, you got this little guy in your head that says, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, I'm master commander of my universe and my death. Guess what? The evidence says otherwise. So you really want to see that this is about giving up a false power that you never had.
And yet it's giving you a power that is beyond belief.
And you become one with the real power, which is infinite and unlimited.
Well, exactly. Then you are actually part of the force that is driving this universe. You're not resisting it. You are part of the flow, versus separate from the flow. You no longer feel like a little separate me, but rather I'm flowing with this divinity that is part of me and part of everybody. So there's a deep kind of, the ordinary becomes absolutely extraordinary.
You live in a state of blessedness. because now you realize that
just
everything
to be here is
is
such a
gift.
blessing.
It's a gift.
You know, and then you wonder why, how could I have ever wanted to change this moment, even when it's crappy, because it just is the moment it is.
It means you're
know?
alive.
It's your aliveness. It's beautiful.
Part of being human, you know, to be human is beautiful.
Even when you're angry or sad and crappy things happen in life, or you're fighting with your kids, or you know, having a divorce,
and that's the peace.
All the stuff, it just is.
That's the peace.
The peace is in. It's okay anyway.
You can see the beauty. You ride, you know, it's a calm river, and then you turn the corner and it's white water, rapid, stage 5. You just surf it, because it's all God. It's all what is, and that's the love, and that's the natural state. You know, so, but we generally need a little help from our friends, you know, Raza, or, you know, some other teacher or whatever. So anyway, thank you very much, Fergan. That's your question applies to lots of people.
It really does. Thank you so much, Fergan.
Yes.
Those are any of please
That
ask.
really cleared it up. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Very good. Oh, glad to hear that. Okay, so anybody else? You know, if you want to share or ask a question?
And Kate, is there anything else? Oh yes. Carnegie.
Well, I see Carnegie waving his hand.
Yes. Hey, Carnegie. Just unmute yourself.
Yeah. You have lower left, or yeah.
There are a couple of other new folks that have questions.
Okay, great.
So,
Thanks, Kate. Thank you.
Yeah.
Lower left, you can unmute yourself, Carnegie. You'll see a little mic, and then you click on it.
On the lower left, Carnegie.
On your screen?
On your screen. Little lower left. Or
Okay.
There you go.
There you go.
Okay, great. Sorry.
Cool. No worries.
2 quick questions, and we'll just make it fast. So, one is, I sort of have, this is a mechanical process you're sort of describing as I see it.
Well,
right?
it's a very intelligent process.
Yeah, and that because the subconscious is so devious. It's as if you might have, like a lot of us who have been, quote, seekers for such a long time, have this feeling that, oh, it's not that easy, or it probably won't work for me. It can't be that quick, you know. Does that subconscious belief system, and all belief systems are a limitation, I think, does that impact the effectiveness maybe of the rasa, or is the rasa like independent of that?
You know, yes, it will impact it to an extent. Basically what we found is, if you're really afraid of the impact it might have on your life, how it might change your life, your work, your relationship, if you're afraid of it, that'll impact it. If you have a lot of skeptical doubt and you won't give it a permission slip, you won't suspend your disbelief, that will affect it. And the third thing, interestingly, is if you have some form of shame, in the sense of you don't feel you deserve to awaken or be happy or be free or be peaceful, you might secretly not believe it. Like we worked with somebody who had been a Catholic, we're not trying to, you know, say anything about Catholicism, but apparently she ended up with, you know, a negative self-image and shame and didn't deserve to be happy. And so she sat there for 5 minutes in silence and said, let me see what I can do about this. And then after doing whatever she did to let go of that, I don't deserve to be happy and free, she just worked on it. And then we gave her the rasa and she went to 1,000. So we we had another guy, he was filled with doubt, but it turned out to be related to his kidneys in Chinese medicine. His kidneys got treated, got stronger. He had less fear of invasion. He had less doubt. He went to 1,000. So yes, you're quite right that this fear, there can be energetic blocks, you know, but overall we don't think about it too much because the rasa is kind of like a really strong river. It washes most things away. But you're right. You have a very good point. And that's, you know, that's good for people to look into themselves and ask that question, you know. And we're just saying, give it a permission slip right now. Like you're watching a movie, you suspend your disbelief. I mean, your rational mind knows that's not possible. Nobody flies through the air like Superman. But you watch the movie you want to enjoy, so you suspend your disbelief for the time of the movie. And that's all we're asking from you right now.
Yeah, well, I'm open to that. I just thought I'd address that because I think
that's a great point.
Oh, it's a great point.
Tremendous. Actually, we should have brought that up. So it's a good thing.
It works in a lot of us.
Yeah.
Hey, but I want to mention something too, real quickly. Is so Tuesday night we had a rasa, and I do TM, and Monday morning I went to a group meditation. I have a hip and a knee problem that impacts my walking quite a bit, or it has. So I had to walk across a couple 100 yards of a soccer field to get to my car. And just like Paulo said, my body, the body, not my body, did this walking effortlessly across that field. I was literally pulled along the field, and I was just watching the body do it. And I increased my pace just to see if it would keep doing it, you know. And it was like, wow, very, very nice. I totally accept it, you know. I love it. And I think, you know, the healing or whatever can happen instantaneously.
Oh, yes.
Yes, the Rasa does now and then
Yeah,
help people on
yeah,
a physical level, mental, emotional, relationship, financial, not just spiritual, but mainly about the spiritual. Thank you so much.
Physical like that.
Yeah,
Healing.
I'm going to add to that slightly, only because belief, what is a belief? A belief is a thought you have over and over and over again that it finally becomes a belief. And a lot of seekers have these beliefs that, you know, awakening can only happen if you're a Buddha or Jesus, or, you know, and yet you're striving to attain the state, and you know it's very strange, actually, the whole thing.
Yeah.
Like when you actually allow and give a permission slip and just disregard the fact, just for a while you're receiving the rasa, that, you know, just allow it to do whatever it does.
Be a child.
Whatever that is.
Just
you know, be
like
innocent to it and see how it goes, because then what you'll find is just like you could walk the next day like you haven't walked in a while across a field. Because what is the rasa really doing? It is dissolving our limited belief systems. That's what rasa does. So your belief that you can't walk around the field because you're something that can't just heal like that is what's being dissolved. You see? So it's fundamentally, you can do all this already, but we block ourselves because of our negative belief systems. You see, so rasa is it's dissolving what is false. What's true is that you're a limitless being. You can do anything already, you know. And so, you know, it really is waking up to that truth. Which can happen post-awakening as well. So I'm going into a little bit of stuff that's a little bit post-awakening stuff here. So anyway, we can go back to the next question.
You know, regardless of how long you've been a seeker, like somebody just said, I'm ready. You know what? Yeah, 37 years of seeking, now you're ready. Great. Yeah,
We're
so
all
do
ready.
yourself a favor and just drop your skepticism. I mean, it is a fact that over 300 people have awakened. And, you know, we didn't say you're awakened. They typically tell us. So, I mean, I had to be convinced myself, okay? So we understand any skepticism. We're just suggesting you just relax and enjoy the ride, okay? Just enjoy the experience and do your best to just chill out and receive. Okay, so Kate, we had other people raising their hands.
Yeah, we have Katja. We have two more people. I don't know. Do you want to take the two?
Hi, Katja. Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, sure, yeah.
Hi.
Hi. Did I understand you right that you said in the beginning that when the little I dissolves, it doesn't solve all the problems, that's a different matter? Did I understand you right?
Yes.
Yeah.
What about health issues?
Health issues.
Yes.
Oh, I guess fundamentally rasa has been known as what Karnik just said. It can have a healing effect. Do we know for a fact that we're not healers? We're giving a transmission. We don't call it a healing. We call it a blessing. What I think it does, because I don't really know anything for certain. I don't even know anything at all, to be honest. But what I think,
and neither do I.
You know, we really don't know. You know, so what I think it does is it dissolves the blockages that we have as in our own ability to heal ourselves, in the body's ability to heal itself. The notions and ideas we have that we're not capable ourselves, aren't capable of what's the word? Recovering and recouping, all that dissolves. You know, we actually are vessels that are very pure and very beautiful, but we have a lot of stuff. We are addicted to our minds. We have an addiction to the mind. We are all addicted to our minds, our thinking.
Disease is a function as a result of
That's
resistance.
the disease.
Disease is a result of resistance. Rasa reduces and ultimately eliminates that resistance. You then live in a resistance-free, frictionless way. The higher power flows through you effortlessly and really in a total way. And therefore, if it is at all possible for you to have a healing karmically, then you will.
Correct.
Because now the light, the higher power flows through you unblocked. So really, it's because we're saying no to the higher power and no to life, we end up with these problems. When you live in with no resistance, then either the problem goes away or is greatly diminished, or if it continues, it no longer is a problem for you in the sense that you don't resist it and you don't fear it. So there will be a healing of some kind. Can we predict it'll be an actual physical healing? We can't, but there will be a healing in relationship to it, so it no longer is experienced as a problem by you.
Yeah, exactly.
So
your perception of it.
So life's issues may go on, in fact will, especially for, it took me 3 years. My inner life changed, then my outer life changed. Then they synchronized, and then everything came together in the higher power, via, giving me the Raza 3 years after my, awakening in 2008. So then the Raza period, it was only because I was ready, because the inner, the outer, and all of it had become aligned, opened, and ready to receive. So, it's really living without resistance is the true state of health. I think that's a good answer.
And Raza does exactly that. It helps me melting down the resistance.
Yes, that's what it does.
Exactly.
That's exactly what it does.
Exactly.
Thank you so much, Katja.
Yes, thanks, Katja.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's exactly what it's supposed to do.
Beautiful.
I hope.
Yeah.
Yeah,
well, it will do that. The question is, how much resistance is there to melt away? That's going to be how long it's going to take. Okay, somebody else, Kate.
Yeah, Greg Askew, go ahead.
Hey, Greg.
Hi, Greg.
I just wanted to share something with folks because a couple people brought up Ramana, and the one fellow, I'm sorry, I forget his name, was expressing some surprise about what you're talking about. And this was from Karen, who's on this call too. She said this is from BSUR, where Ramana talks about what he actually does. He says, somebody asked him, why does not Bhagavan go about and preach the truth to people at large? And he said, how do you know I'm not doing it? Does preaching consist in mounting a platform and haranguing the people? Preaching is simple communication of knowledge. It can be done in silence only. What do you think of a man who listens to a sermon for an hour and goes away without being impressed so as to change his life? Compare him with another who sits in holy presence and goes away after some time with his outlook on life totally changed. Which is better, to preach loudly without effect or sit silently sending out inner force? Ramana himself was saying, that what he really did was sit in silence sending out inner force. And, if you really examine, the story of his life, 70% of the time he said nothing to people. And, there were myriad people who woke up in his presence just by being there with him. So, the only reason I bring that up is to, Ramana is highly respected, and he's been cited here a couple of times, and this is what he said. So silent transmission, exactly. Thanks, Greg. Because you know what? He was so brilliant. He realized there was nothing to say. He did teach Atma Vichara, and he said it was essential, a very powerful tool. But for himself, he was his teaching. Exactly. You have to be it. You can't. There's nothing you can say. It's about being. It's always comes back to being.
Yeah, and the whole tradition of Advaita Vedanta for some is traced back to the original guru Dakshinamurti. And Dakshinamurti would teach in silence. He'd they'd be sitting in the forest, he'd have a bunch of people sitting around them, they'd meditate an hour or two. And he'd, as you say, silently transmit spiritual force. And then after sitting in silence for an hour or two, he'd then say, in case nobody got it, do you have any questions? You know, so the original teaching was actually silence, but silence with a form of spiritual force or transmission. So that's what the rasa is. You know, that's why we say, you know, don't regard us as teachers, gurus, anything like that. Because the real guru, the real teacher is the silent spiritual force. And this silent spiritual force, which is Emmanuel, God with us, has chosen to appear in the form of this rasa. So, you know, which means essence in Sanskrit. So it is what it is. That's what our experience is. It's chosen to appear in this way. And it's parallel to what Ramana Maharshi was doing. So we could be blithering idiots and make no sense while we're talking. But you know what? If we can deliver that silent spiritual force, that's all that matters. So thank you very much, Greg.
Thanks, Greg. Yeah.
So that's probably a good place to enter into rasa if
Yes.
Could I add one thing before we go? Could
Yeah,
I add one thing? Would that be
I
possible?
recognize your voice, Karen.
Yes, Karen, go ahead.
Karen, yeah.
Yes.
Hi, Karen.
So I just want to say, I've been a psychotherapist for 25 years, and I worked with Ramaji last fall, and he got me to 1,000. And then I learned rasa, and I've had my first client, and I was telling another psychotherapist who's on this call, David Stein, hi David, in South Africa.
Hey, David.
That so my first client made more progress in 2 rasas than she made in the previous 1 year using traditional psychotherapy. It's really powerful for healing professionals. And while Ramaji and Ananda are still teaching it and giving it, it's a wonderful opportunity for us. So I just wanted to say that one thing. Thank you.
Thank you, Karen.
Thank you.
You're awesome.
Thank you so much,
You're
Karen.
awesome
honestly.
and beautiful. We love
and
you.
I want to add something while we're sitting here, just because Karen had her first breakthrough. She learned how to give rasa with us when? Couple of months ago. She came to San Diego, and her first client last week, all on her own, went to 1,000. She's awakened somebody all on her own.
Yay.
Again, that Karen did by herself. Congrats, Karen. We weren't needed to do that. Any of you can do this.
No, she did it all by herself, all on her own.
That's the beauty.
Yeah.
Anyone can do this.
Okay, so I think Kate's right.
Let's do the rasa now.
So, but I think maybe some people may need a bathroom break.
I do.
So I do anyway, or maybe we both do. Okay, so anybody who needs a bathroom break, this is the time, because the rasa will be 20 minutes. So we'll be right back.
Thank you. Thanks so much, Kate.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, thank you very much.
I just want to say for folks to put on their videos too, and I'll say this again when they come back. But we've been asked to put on our videos for the rasa, which if you go to the lower left-hand corner of your screen, there's a little video icon. If you just click on that, that would be very much appreciated so they can see you.
Okay, so we're back. So just want to mention, if you want more information or you want support, you can contact us through ramaji.org. There's a contact form. And just mention that you were on this call. And Open Circle may also have a way that you can contact the teacher. I don't know. So anyway, we're both available, and you can contact us through the website, ramaji.org. So the Rasa will take 20 minutes. It's with eyes closed. It's in silence. And we ask that you just...
chill out.
Thank you, Nirmala. We just ask that you be relaxed and receptive, like you're getting a massage or a suntan on the beach. It doesn't really matter what kind of experience you have. Some people have really groovy spiritual experiences, but it really doesn't matter. The Rasa will work on you. Many people report something like, more silence or peace or something like that. You're going to, it works for, like, say, the next week or two. Also, your LOC, whatever it is right now, may go up. To get your LOC, you do need to work with us individually. We just don't have the time to just hand out LOCs via email. So, there is a process, obviously, where you start with the LOC and then we can track as you go up. We try to be as scientific, you could say, as possible. Anyway, so the Rasa is 20 minutes in silence and with eyes closed. Anything you want to add to that?
I just want to say thank you, and just because, after the Rasa, we'll let you relax for 10 or 15 minutes. You stay in silence, and then we will sign off. And just, it's been such a pleasure and an honor to meet the new faces and to obviously see all our old friends. And again, we're here for you. We can contact Kate or contact us, and just enjoy it. Sit back, give it a permission slip, relax. No, don't meditate, just be.
And if possible, have your video on or your picture showing. We prefer that so that we can see you. But even if for some reason we can't, we will still be able to give you Rasa. We just prefer to be able to see you during the Rasa. Okay, so are you all set up with
Oh,
your
yeah,
music?
I'm ready.
Okay.
I'm ready. Thank you so much, everybody.
All right,
Thank
here we
you.
go. 20 minutes in silence, eyes closed. Oh yeah, I just want to say I see Court's giving Rasa, so anybody who's been trained to give Rasa, like Karen or Greg, you can give Rasa with us if you want to improve the power of the delivery, but it's entirely up to you. If you want to just receive, that's fine too. Okay, thanks.
Okay. Thank you, everybody.
That's Rasa. Now, Kate, I think we're over time a little bit. So is there a little more time or should we just end it now?
I would, yeah, just to stay within the time frame,
Okay.
just to honor people's,
Sure.
Days.
Yeah, thank you so much. Really beautiful.
Thank you. So
Thank
if you
you
have
for
a
joining
chance,
us.
sit
Thank
quietly
you.
now for a little bit, and if you have questions or share experiences or want more support, ramaji.org. There's a
Transmission page. Ananda and Devi
transmission
and Ramaji.
page, Rasa transmission page. There's also a little thing you click on to, send a message in the upper left.
Thank you.
Guys. Love you
Thank
so
you.
much. Thanks for being here.
Kate, thank you so much for this opportunity. Sweetheart. Really,
Been
thank
great.
you. It's been wonderful. Thanks, everybody.
Beautiful to have you both. Thank you.
Bye-bye. Lovely to see you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Kate.
Bye. Thank you, Kate.
Thank you, everybody, for showing up. All our friends.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Yeah, do stay in touch via email if you need to. And for our other upcoming events, because we have various teachers almost every Sunday, check that out on the website. In the meantime, enjoy some silence.
Somebody's asking how to access the recording. Okay.
Yes, it's a good question. You just email web@opencirclecenter.org. And I know folks are probably, I'll send it out. I'll just send it out because so folks know they'll get it within 48 hours. It's not typical. Usually we have people email, but I think we'll just send it out. So
yeah, and on a very practical note, what some people do is listen to the recording during their, not just the talk, but actual Rasa. Some people use that as a meditation tool to re-experience the Rasa blessing or Rasa transmission. They actually listen to the recording over and over. So just want you to know you can do that.
Not our words, just the Rasa part.
At the end.
Yeah.
The silence.
Heaven forbid you
the
should have to listen to
transmission.
that again.
The silent transmission at the
Okay.
end, the grand finale of all this.
Thank you very much.
Okay, guys. Love you.
Thanks, Kate. Bye-bye.
Okay.
Okay, be well, everyone. I'll go ahead and end the meeting.